Please welcome to the stage, Gobbler.
Gobbler.
Thank you very much. So when I was 13 years old, I had the luckiest job in the world. I started making video games, and for half of my life, I did the thing I loved most. And when I turned 30, I realized I had another love, which was music. So I left that industry, joined the music industry, and have now spent the last 6 years traveling around the world designing concerts and shooting music videos for some of the biggest artists in the world. And my tech brain never went away, and what I saw was that the music industry's gone completely digital. Everyone records digitally now. They've got home computers, workstations. But strangely enough, one of the biggest problems for people that record music is that they're constantly losing files. Crashed hard drives, corrupted files. It's a big issue for the music industry. I'm sure every single one of you's lost a file at some point in your world of computing. But the music industry has a big problem. And so I started to ask my clients, well, what are the 3 biggest problems you've got? And it's real simple. We can never find our stuff. We're always losing our stuff. And when I want to collaborate with somebody else, it's really difficult to do. So a year ago, I went down this path and started Gobbler, called my sister up and I said, let's start a company, let's solve this problem. And today, I want to show you what we've done. So this is Gobbler. And what you're seeing here is a catalog of a bunch of files. And what you're seeing here is the life of a musician. A bunch of hard drives with a bunch of stuff on it, and who knows what's on it. So it's real simple. I just click on the question mark, I scan these drives, and Gobbler basically goes through and looks and finds every single musical project on these drives and builds a catalog out so you can see what's going on. And it's really nice. So now I can unplug one of these drives, throw it back in the closet, and if I was ever looking for something, I can just type it in, go, oh, there's that project, and which drive is it on? It's on the desktop. Real easy to find. And it's a simple idea, but you know what? For the music industry, this doesn't exist. And now backup. Offsite backup is the only way to properly store your stuff. And these files are so important to these artists. This is their livelihood. If their house burns down and they have an extra drive with a backup somewhere, it really doesn't help them. So what we've done is we've created a really simple way for them to securely back up their projects in the cloud. And to do that, all you got to do is find a project, select it, click backup, and it's that simple. Gobbler's now using a proprietary lossless compression to make this entire project half the size of normal. It's encrypting it, and it's sending to a secure offsite server. But what's neat about Gobbler is it's not just backup, it's also constant monitoring. So what we've done is we've created a system where not only do we back it up, but we also can create revision histories. Because artists sometimes lose files, they get a little high, they misplace things, and we want to make it really easy for them to get those files back. And so all you got to do with Gobbler is say, okay, you know what? I want the version from February 23rd at 8:38 a.m. I click download. And in this case, I'm going to put it on this, I'll put it here, on this Gobbler drive. I'll choose the folder. What you're going to see is Gobbler's now going to the cloud and saying, hey, I want to make this version again. What do I do? And it's going, oh, it's all these different files. And you'll notice now it's downloading from the cloud. This project is a gigabyte project. And even though Jason has done a great job with bandwidth, this project's downloading way faster than the bandwidth in this room. And there's a reason for that. We're dealing with Gobbler as a system is all about file management too. And Gobbler knows where everything is, whether it's in the cloud or on your drives. So what's happening here is Gobbler's going, oh, hold on a minute. I know I've got these projects saved in the cloud, but there's a lot of files on these drives that are also in this project. So instead of having to re-download them all from the cloud, we're actually copying a bunch of files across the drives to recreate this new project. And by doing that, we actually make it really easy to move large data sets around. And that's one of the big problems that we're solving with musicians, is helping them move big data sets around. But sending projects, or backing up project isn't the only thing. Well, actually, let me just show you this. So we've downloaded that project, and where is it? There it is. So that's 1 gigabyte downloaded in less than a minute. So now I want to send a project, and we've made it really simple. So I'm going to take that same project, and I'm going to send it to Jason Kalkanis. I'm going to click send. And if you look to the top right here, you'll notice a ground notification. That project's been sent. Why should I re-upload that project to the cloud for him to have to download it? He's going to get an email at some point very quickly saying, hey, download this file. And what's neat about Gobbler is that now we're monitoring files on his side. So in the music industry, what typically will happen is that gigabyte project will then get copied to a new project. And Jason might rename it Remix. And do a bunch of work in it. When he goes to send it back to me, instead of having to re-upload all that stuff, Gobbler's going to go, oh, hold on a minute. I've got all these files already, so I'm just going to upload the new and change files. And when I go to download it and save it to another drive, Gobbler's going to go, hold on a minute. I got a bunch of these files locally. So instead of having to re-download all that stuff, I'm just going to copy it across. So I'm out of time, but that's Gobbler.
Okay. Drew, I got to go to you first. Creator of Dropbox. How many people in the room use Dropbox? Wow.
Me too.
I like it.
People ask, how did you pick the judges? I picked it based upon proficiency in building apps primarily. Like, how good are the products that these gentlemen build, and ladies and some other panels. Dropbox is like an awesome product that is part of almost everybody in the room's daily life. What do you think of this, more verticalized Dropbox specifically for musicians?
So, we have a ton of musicians using Dropbox for different things, but we don't do anything special with, for them, and we don't do a lot around the workflow. So, I guess my first question was going to be, I love a lot of the stuff that you're doing around sort of deduplication under the hood and all kinds of various bandwidth savings, and that's the kind of stuff that we find our users value a lot too. It seemed like big parts of the technology were kind of complementary to the cloud storage piece. So how would you guys think about, and we can make the storage of that stuff a lot easier, or handle the cloud storage part, and without it really conflicting with all the workflow and some of the other optimizations you do. So how would you guys think about, storing the stuff on Dropbox versus managing it yourself?
Well, let me introduce Scott. He's our lead tech. Architecturally, we're actually using EC2 and S3.
Yeah.
I think, and we've designed Gobbler to be sort of extensible. The reason why we sort of chose to do it on our own was just because of the way we're handling a lot of the files, the encryption and the compression. So it's just more of an architectural question for us. But
right. There are a few major differences. One thing about these music projects is that basically an artist will go and use Logic or Pro Tools. They'll make the project, and it basically will shoot out hundreds of little files into this directory, and they make changes, and a random 30 or 40 files will change every time they save the project. And they don't know what files have changed. But if you grab part of the project, those files aren't in perfect sync, the product doesn't work at all. So the whole folder with thousands of files or often 20, 30,000 files has to be backed up as an atomic units. That's sort of different than the way other solutions work. So that's one key difference.
Yeah. Well, cool. Yeah, we can talk about the technical stuff offline, but overall, I think that's a great concept and some helpful pieces.
What's your model? How are you charging people?
Software as a service, monthly fee, starting with prices lower than $10 a month.
And then you scale it based on
the amount of space used and the amount of transfer you do.
And you said you were using proprietary lossless. Why wouldn't you use standards-based stuff?
I'll answer that. Basically, there are lossless codecs for audio, but they don't really guarantee the same exact format back out. So we have variants of those that basically will guarantee this exact same file. Artists are really paranoid about the exact same file coming back out of the process.
Sure.
Yeah.
So they're not guaranteed to preserve the metadata, for example,
Yeah.
like FLAC. So we have variants of those.
I don't know enough about the standards, but
Yeah,
I'm
a
just
lot of it
curious,
has to do with error
'cause
checking.
they might also be fearful that they never get it back.
Well,
Yes,
the compression itself is actually an open source compression. We just sort
Okay.
of tweaked it for our use.
So yeah, there's basically, depending on the
so
type of data we use, we sort of
People
mix the
will be
compression.
comfortable using
Yes,
Absolutely.
exactly.
Okay.
How many people are using it, or customers?
So we've been in really stealth, super private beta, and right now we've got about 2,000 people using it. And the way we built the product, it's inherently viral, so that community's sort of grown itself, because every time I send a project to somebody
Right.
else, suddenly they become a user. So we haven't marketed it all. This is really just word of mouth type of growth that we've had with the product.
How are you connecting up to other third-party services for musicians? Like, how do you keep them synced across different systems?
So actually today we've launched a new version of Gobbler, and one of the things that we've done with it is integrated SoundCloud into the interface. We sort of see Gobbler as your starting point for doing all kinds of music collaboration. And with SoundCloud, we now are helping users not only on the source side, which is what we handle, but also on the distribution side. And we've used Gobbler actually as a way to solve some problems for SoundCloud, where you can now bulk upload your projects and bulk tag your projects. So we want to use Gobbler not just as an application for the worlds that we're working in, but also make it extensible for other businesses to use Gobbler as a way to solve a lot of their problems.
Awesome. Very well done. Gobbler.